Hi, I'm Lee Andrews, and this is Playing Dirty with Fire. Today we are doing our first film kiln opening, featuring some of Spectrum's new floating glazes. I'm a Canadian living in South Carolina, and our kiln is out in the pot shed. The pot shed's temperature right now is about 110 degrees, so I won't be filming outside. I'll bring the pieces in here and film them. So while I go get the pots, this would be a good time for you to like and subscribe. We fired the kiln to a cone 6 using our slow cool schedule. Each shelf reached a hot cone 6. This is the bottom, this was the middle, and this was the top. Testing Spectrum's floating glazes, we use Studio Reclaimed clay, which consists of Iceman, White Bear, B-Mix 5, Little Loafers, and possibly Dark Star. To test the floating glazes, we applied the glaze the same way for each one. We applied 3 coats from here to the line to test vertically to see how it'll run, a flat textured testile to see how it'll break over the texture, a textured vertical mug or cup, and we did 2 glazes from here to here, and then we did 3 glazes from here and on the inside. On the wine cup, we did 2 times Honey Flux PC17 outside and inside, and then we did 2 times the floating glaze halfway down, up, and then halfway down on the inside. Spectrum Floating Glaze 1452 Spanish Moss. I really like how the glaze runs down and breaks through the texture on this mug. It's a beautiful white, soft blue, soft green, and on this flat testile, you can see the little pink dots it creates. It looks absolutely beautiful over the texture. However, it's a runner, and out of all the Spectrum floating glazes, it's the only one that ran off the bottom onto the kiln shelf. But if you can see on the bottom, I only glazed it 2 times and it shows up with a lot more green. Very, very pretty. Unfortunately, over the Honey Flux, it's really white. There's a hint of blue and a hint of green, but it's pretty white. Spectrum Floating Glaze 1449 Floating Turquoise. It's a beautiful light green base with floating turquoise, and it flows down the vertical surfaces. I love how it's just like a river coming down. Really nice. Out of all of the floating glazes, I think the flat textured testile is my favorite. One glaze in so many different tones. Absolutely gorgeous. Picks up a lot of the same tones on its own. Oops, we're not focusing. Picks up a lot of the same tones on its own without any breaking over texture. And it performed wonderfully over Honey Flux. I absolutely love this color. I'm not going to say already it's my favorite, but it might be my favorite. Spectrum Floating Glaze 1450 Morning Glory. It's a nice light blue color that breaks with a hint of green and pools with a darker blue. Again, I really like it on the flat surface. Let's get in focus on the flat surface and those little blue spots on the bottom. Really nice. It's a runner as well, but it didn't run off the bottom. And it came out a pretty baby blue over the honey flux. Spectrum Floating Glaze, 1446 Sunrise. Really creamy pink floating on top of a pinky orange base. As you can see from the vertical test style, it doesn't run nearly as much as the other floating glazes. And it breaks beautiful over texture. And over honey flux gives this nice blush color, a little orangey, really pretty. I think this will look pretty cool on pumpkins without it being too orangey orange pumpkin. Spectrum Floating Glaze, 1447 Bougainvillea. There's been some laughs online about how to pronounce this one, but that's how I'm going to do it. This is a really cool pink color that breaks with a darker pink. I think this will look good with a lot of different combinations. Unfortunately, the pink really lightens over the honey flux. Almost burns out. And she's a runner. Spectrum Floating Glaze, 1448 Shallot. Creamy lilac floating over purple and pink base. It breaks really well over texture. And you can see it's also a runner. But again, over the honey flux, really loses the pink. It's a little more pink on the inside. It really loses the color. So I think I'm going to try these again, and I'm going to put the floating glaze color by itself here, put the honey flux there, and then a strip of the floating glaze color here, so that it runs down, but it shows more color on the top. My favorite out of the group would be Sunrise. And Floating Turquoise over the honey flux. A little studio tip that we have here is what we do with our test tiles after we fire them. Before we fire them, we write with underglaze pencils the name and the number, or sometimes just the number. And then after we fire them, we get these little Velcro dots, and we bought these, I believe, on Amazon. I'm sure you can find them. Put them on top with the round one. And we put the vertical test style on the side, and then we store it. So when we want to take the glaze and use it, we can just take the Velcro off and open up the glaze and use it, and and then put the glaze lid back on when we're finished. Put the Velcro dot back on top and it stays with the bottle. Put the Velcro back on the side, it stays with the bottle. You can see every time you get the glaze out how it's going to run, what it looks like breaking over texture. And then you can also peel them off and hold them up to each other to see how they'll look together. And then put them back on. I really like this combo, but I really like greens and blues. And it is Shipwreck, which is Mayco SW111 in a wavy pattern down to the bottom, times 2 coats. And then Soft Aqua by Spectrum 1523 to meet the wrought iron and into the inside, 3 coats. And then a band of Shipwreck, which is also Mayco SW154 times 2 in the middle. This is on B-Mix 5 clay, and on the inside is Coyote Satin White liner, just this one here. And then on the top and the handle and down just past the texture is Soft Red 1521 by Spectrum, 3 coats. And the below that, right at the bottom of the texture and down, is Honey Flux PC17, 2 coats. And I did this sugar and creamer set in the same combination, which is Coyote Satin White liner inside times 3, Soft Red times 3 1521 Spectrum on the texture and just below, and then Honey Flux times 2 from the bottom of the texture down. Okay, this is one of our students who did this, John. On the outside, the alien skin is pear C41 and wasabi C43 mixed together. The eyes are obsidian C1. All of those are by Amaco. And the inside is honeydew, which is another of the Coyote liner glazes. I think he did a wonderful job. Okay, this is a set of ice cream dishes, also by John, one of our students, and he used cenote times 3 and Honey Flux on the inside on the rim times 1. This mug is also by John with the same combination, cenote times 3 inside and out, and then Honey Flux times 2 on the top rim, inside and out. And this is John's last piece out of the kiln, and it is snow times 3, all on the outside. The Coyote satin white liner on the inside, and Speedball's Dragonstone times 3 on the top half on the outside. I glazed several pieces in this combination. I saw on YouTube Jenny from Warehouse Creations. She had a little test style with this combination, and I thought it looked really pretty, so I thought I'd explore it a little bit more. It is a deep fire brick by Amaco, Arctic Blue, deep fire brick by Amaco ×2, Arctic Blue ×2, and then seaweed ×1, all over inside and out. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And that's on the mug. This is on a wine tumbler. Really, really pretty. It's not showing very well. And I did it on a bowl or a strainer, berry bowl. And I did it on a small plate with lots of texture. And then I did it on a little platter with some texture and pieces without texture, just to show the difference. And I really like it. Okay, and this is the last one. This is actually a refire. We had a little bit of an incident with our kiln, and the plug overheated, so the kiln was struggling to get to cone 6. It made it to low cone 5, so everything came out all right, but it kept going up to temperature and then dropping, going up to temperature and dropping. So we had to fix the plug, get a new outlet, rewire everything, get all new elements, and now the kiln's working fantastic. So this one's been refired, and it is, the plate is PC24, which is Sapphire Float by Amaco, Indigo Float, oh sorry, that was ×2, Indigo Float ×2, which is PC23, C21, 1 coat over top, and then Touches of Snow, C10. For the shark head, I used Spectrum 1539 Elephant Hide for the gray at the back of his head. His eye is C5 Charcoal with C1 Obsidian, and around his mouth is C10 Snow, and inside his, and his teeth are C10 Snow as well. Inside his mouth and his gums are a mixture of C50 Cherry Blossom, C53 Weeping Plum, and then on the inside of his mouth is C5 Charcoal and C1 Obsidian. I think these 3 pieces are the best out of the kiln. Thanks for watching.